Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everybody. Peace and blessings be upon you all. Good evening and welcome to our program, Your Vote, Your Voice. So today's program is about something super important, which is voting. And oftentimes you'll hear people in the Muslim community speaking about voting and speaking about the importance of voting, but there's a need of a lot more education on how to vote, and especially this time around with ranked choice voting. Now, ranked choice voting is a new system that the city has put in place for how we can achieve the greatest amount of democracy in our system here, where people are able to actually rank the choices of who they want to vote for. But I'm sure you guys don't want to hear it from me. There's a much better speaker about this topic, actually, Brother Haris Khan, who will be speaking with you all tonight about how ranked choice voting works. What is it? And how is it that the city, or how does it actually secure more democracy? So let me add him to the stream. Brother Haris, assalamu alaikum.
Assalamualaikum. Assalamualaikum, Musab, and all the viewers. And I'm pretty sure they want to hear from you too, but happy to be here.
All right. So Brother Haris here is, he's, an experienced civic worker and government worker. He's been around for a while. Currently, he's working at the community affairs team at the comptroller's office as the Queen's representative, if I'm not wrong. And, he does all sorts of really cool work. Haris is an overall great guy and a great friend. And he put together this presentation for specifically the Muslim community for how we can utilize ranked choice voting. It's a pretty quick presentation. So without further ado, Brother Haris, here you go. Let me add your presentation to the stream. All right.
Okay, let's get started.
Whenever you're ready.
So ranking the Muslim vote, and again, assalamualaikum everyone. Haris Khan, work for the comptroller in my day job. When I'm not working, I do organizing stuff in the Muslim community and beyond. And we'll just go over what ranking the Muslim vote means in a ranked choice voting election. You've probably seen the ads around the city. You've probably seen them on bus stops, but just try to get through some basic concepts with ranked choice voting so it's more digestible. And then please feel free to ask any questions that you may have over the course of this presentation. Let's get started. So let's watch a little quick video first.
There's a new way for New Yorkers to have their say in city elections. A way that gives voters more choices and can lead to more diverse winners. It's called ranked choice voting. 74% of New York voters chose to use it in primary and special elections for city offices: mayor, public advocate, comptroller, borough president, and city council. You won't see ranked choice voting in general elections or elections for state or national offices. But in ranked choice voting elections, you can now rank up to 5 of your favorite candidates for each office. Here's how ranked choice voting works. On your ballot, you'll see candidates listed in rows and numbered rankings in columns. Pick your first choice and completely fill in the oval next to their name under the first column. Like always, you can just vote for your one favorite candidate and submit your ballot. But you might like several people. If you have a second choice, fill in the oval next to their name under the second column. Do the same thing for your third, fourth, and fifth choices if you have them. A few don'ts. Don't rank the same candidate more than once. It won't help them, and it takes away your chance to rank the others who are running. Don't give the same rank to multiple candidates. It could disqualify your ballot. Don't worry. This is a new process, and you can always ask a poll worker for help, or for a new ballot if you make a mistake. So, how do ballots get counted with ranked choice voting? If one candidate gets more than 50% of everyone's first choice votes, they win the election right away. That's it. If no candidate gets more than 50%, ballots will be counted in rounds. Round by round, the candidate with the fewest votes is eliminated. So, if your top-rated candidate is eliminated, your vote goes to your next highest choice. This keeps going until only 2 candidates remain. The person with the most votes wins. Ranked choice voting is already popular in many cities around the country because voters find that it helps more voices be heard. Now it's our turn. Get answers to your questions and learn more at nyccfb.info/RCV.
So I hope that was just a nice summary for folks as they're watching and tuning into this. This is from the New York City Campaign Finance Board, nyccfb.info/RCV. And you can find more resources there as well. But today we really wanted to break it down a bit more for folks. It might be a little too quick to understand through a 2-minute video. So just a bit more details and just kind of clarifying the parameters of RCV and what it means. So before this June in New York City, the way you'd usually vote would be the way you usually vote across the country, which is you plurality elections. So the person with the most vote wins, and you just pick one person, and whoever gets the most votes in that election wins. And what that really boils down to is it's not a system where you need majority of the voters. You don't need 60%. You just need more than everybody else. So you could easily have elections where somebody gets elected with only 30% of the vote because everybody else got 5 and 10% each, and no one really had a decisive majority in terms of more than 50%. But somebody just squeezed their way through it, and that's the kind of things we saw in the previous system under the regular plurality voting system, or the systems where you just get a ballot like we've always done in the past, just circle a name and call it a day. But with this system, it's going to be a bit different. Next slide. So the one big benefit of ranked choice voting that people find is that the idea of splitting votes no longer plays such a huge role if voters cast their ballots aligned with whichever metric they want to use for their votes. So for example, if people don't want their ideologies to be split up, if you have multiple candidates that believe in the same kind of value system, you could just voters could just rank all the candidates that believe or hold similar ideologies 1, 2, 2, and 3. And that way your votes still transfer over. And we'll get into this a bit more in detail, but really the idea of splitting votes, we have Jill Stein here on the slides. People didn't want to vote for her in some states in 2016 because they thought you were just giving a vote to Trump. And so some people, although they believed in Jill Stein, they didn't vote for her just because of this fear. With ranked choice voting, that fear will no longer be such a big thing to take account of. Candidates are elected with a mandate. That's a huge benefit because in ranked choice systems, you're going to now need to have the winner needs to have a majority of the entire electorate. So more than 50% of the voters have to have confidence in that person to win an election. So it can't be a person who just squeezes right through with 20, 30%. And voters don't have to guess who might make a runoff. So in New York City, you used to have a system where if you were the top 2 candidates within a certain margin, you do a runoff after a Democratic primary or Republican primary. And you don't have to guess who gets into that game. You don't have to do the lesser of 2 evils with ranked choice voting. You just vote for whoever you believe in, one, and then you just rank the rest of the candidates you believe in as well. And that's it. And, in New York and in other places, there used to be, the runoffs do cost a lot of money, millions of dollars. And with ranked choice voting, you don't have to do any of that because ranked choice voting just allows you to see what happens if your favorite candidate didn't make it. And we'll get into that with some better to understand examples. And then the studies have shown across the country that cities where they do have ranked choice voting, it's a bit more positive than usual. And because people and candidates need to appeal to as many people as possible, they won't, continuously bash their opponents personally or in like really personal attacks, and it'll be more focused on issues. That's just what studies have found in other cities. But we're in New York City, so it might be New York City style. So yeah, let's look into what ranked choice voting is. It's 1, 2, 3, super easy. Here I have a list of sweet food desserts people like in the Muslim community. Definitely not an exhaustive list, just a couple of my favorites, and I ranked them. And since I made these slides, I think my ranking have changed. But anyway, so over here, you just rank just like you would when you go to a restaurant and you got a budget and you can't order everything, and you also don't want to be overeating. So you're going to try to, pick and choose like what would be the best option. So, I have here, I put baklava as number 1, kunafa number 2, ras malai, which is Pakistani, number 3, cheesecake, which is definitely not Pakistani, number 4, and then faluda, number 5. And just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I didn't get baklava, I'd be okay with, I would like kunafa. But if I can't get either of them, then ras malai is okay. And if I get none of that, then, I'll deal with cheesecake. And then if none of that, then faluda. So that way, yes.
I know that you married like Arab, but you really did faluda dirty, man. I am very offended.
It just doesn't taste that good, to be honest. Sometimes, unless you add ice cream to it, then it bumps it up, to be honest. But
Fair enough.
actually, that's what I was thinking. But I think kunafa is probably number 1. Baklava is, a little overrated.
Oh, I appreciate that.
That's a good point. Let's keep going. So yeah, here it says all first choice votes are counted, and then if a candidate gets a majority, they win. So let's go back. You do the system. Number 1 is vote with a ranked choice. So you cast your ballot, and if any of these food items gets more than 50% of all the votes, like you're done. So it's basically like the old system, as long as you get more than 50%. So if baklava is the decisive winner of the majority of the votes of the people that are watching today, then there's nothing more complicated about it. It's just, that's it. Like, we're done for the day and we move on, and that's the election. But the truth is that might not happen too often, especially in crowded elections with tons of candidates. And most people that are based in New York City, where Majlis Ash-Shura is based in, like, we have a really crowded New York City Democratic primary for mayor and for controller. And I think most council races are pretty crowded. So it'll be interesting to see how many of them actually even lead to a situation where 50% on the first choice, someone just gets 50% of all the ballots. If they don't get 50%, this is where ranked choice voting is a completely different process, where in the past, whoever just had the most in the first choice, whoever just had the most votes to begin with wins. But if you don't have more than half of all the electorate, if you don't have a majority, then you don't just automatically become the winner of that race. In ranked choice voting, what you do is now you start a process of elimination. And in this process, I'm going to show you right here. This is a draft, just like a hypothetical situation for an election. And this orange color candidate D got the least votes out of all these 4 candidates. So, and if you do the math, 36 is definitely not the majority, right? If you do the math, 36, that's another 28, 21. So it's already like 50, 60 on the other side, and then like 36 on the. So there's definitely it's not a situation where candidate A had a majority. If candidate A had a majority, then in ranked choice, that would be over. They didn't. So what you do is you get rid of the lowest ranked candidate. So candidate D, you say bye to them, but their votes don't get wasted. Like in the old system, whoever had the most votes wins, you call it a day. But now with this ranked choice system, you do is you transfer candidate D's second choice. All the people who picked candidate D, when they ranked, they also picked another candidate under this draft. So, and you'll see here in the second slide, mini slide here, that 5 of the D people went to candidate A, 6 went to candidate B, and then 4 went to candidate C. So now that we're in the second round, candidate C has the least votes. So they get eliminated. And you do this one more round, and then in round 3, it's just 2 people left, because there are 3 here, so you get rid of C. It's just between 2 people. Obviously, between 2 people, whoever has most has a majority. So in this scenario, candidate A not only had the plurality in the beginning, but they also ended up getting the majority of the votes with ranked choice. And they have a mandate that is pretty representative of this hypothetical election. So that's basically the process. Either you get 50% and more and you call it a day. If you don't, then you go through a process of elimination to make sure whoever wins at the end of the day represents the majority of the district. And we'll bring this back to home in New York City. Don't know how many of you are from Brooklyn or from Bay Ridge, but here's a hypothetical of how it could work in these local elections coming up, actually starting today and going up till June 22nd. So we have here 2017, there was a Democratic primary in Bay Ridge, great food, great people. And in that election, there was an Arab candidate who you could say had a lot of support in the Muslim community. So you had Father al-Yatim. And then you had an Asian American candidate, Nancy Tong. And then you had like 3 3 other white folks. And you see here from those numbers that Justin Brennan did not win by 50%. He just got 39%. And that means he got a plurality. He got more than everybody else, right? 39, 31, 16. So yeah, he got them more than everybody else. But he still never had more than 50% of the district in that election. And if you take it a step further to think about the math here, technically he won even though most of the people in that area did not even vote for him, but he won an election. And so with the ranked choice, what it does is it makes it clear that whoever wins does have the mandate, does represent the district, that there were enough people in that area that said, hey, okay, over 50% of the people did believe in this candidate. In the current system, you could have 2 minority candidates like Nancy Tong and Father Al Yatim from communities that are underrepresented in our politics and in our government. They split the vote, and then another person could end up winning an election. So what it could do is it could give power back to communities of color, minority communities, underserved communities, and it could lead to a situation where communities strategize and work together to make sure that that if your people can rank me number 2, my people would rank you number 2. I can cross-endorse you. There's a lot of different models that candidates have done across the country, and I think with this year we haven't seen a lot of that yet, and probably will not because ranked choice voting is so new in New York. But eventually we'll see very interesting things happening because this is a very new system of voting. Here's a quick example, and I think we'll wrap it up and go to questions, but this is an example of what it could mean for candidates if there's like a bunch of Muslim candidates running. And this year was very crazy. We had several elections in council races where you had a lot of Muslim candidates, so very plausible. And here we have a hypothetical where there's John Smith, Khatija, Suleiman, and Bashir. And John could be winning the election in terms of plurality in round 1 with 45%. That doesn't mean that the election is over, especially in ranked choice. If communities, were voting and thinking through ranked choice and what they want to see, if voters are deciding their candidates based on their identity, and let's imagine this is a district with a large Muslim community, and they just want a Muslim representative, period, and it's not really about ideology or policies, then you could easily have a situation where in round 1, Bashir had the least votes. We're in ranked choice voting, so we do a process of elimination. And let's see if I could actually draw on this. Yeah, so Bashir would get eliminated. And then you see that 200 number there. If you look at the numbers down here, 100 went to Khatija and another 100 went to Suleiman, so from 400 to 500. But still, no one's hitting 50%. So Brother Suleiman gets eliminated. Oh, that's a bad line. And then you're left with John and Khatija. And although here, John was chilling and he was going to win this thing easily, Khatija got the remainder of the votes from Suleiman. So this is just completely hypothetical because this assumes people are voting and absolutely, ranking their votes, which is important. But, we know maybe it won't happen that way in a real election. But the hypothetical exists just to show that with the ranked choice, there is a potential for vote splitting to not become as dramatic and detrimental to communities that are underrepresented in our government as it has in the past, where a lot of candidates run and it's not ranked choice. So you literally are splitting the votes. Over here, there's a chance you might rank your votes and be able to still elect people from your communities, even though you have many people running. So that's a kind of positive, I think, note to start wrapping this up on. And the last slide here shows all the different areas in America where ranked choice has been used or is going to be used. And I think one exception here is Alaska. All right, they've used it here. Alaska has a system that they recently put in place, and it's slowly catching up. And in terms of big cities, Oakland has done it, San Francisco has done it. And although I would say usually the candidate that gets the most votes in round 1 wins, that's been kind of the pattern nationally. There are cases where you have elections where a person down below squeezes to the top using ranked choice. And that happened, I think, in Oakland County in 2010 for one of their mayor's races. So it's a very different, new, confusing process, but really you're just ranking people. And then, that's it. You're just ranking people, and somebody's got to get 50% or more. And if it's not your first choice, it's got to be your second or third or fourth. And what it really does is it makes sure your voice matters till the end. And it doesn't just get canceled out because you're from a small community that is underrepresented. So that's a bit about the ranked choice system. And then election day, June 22nd, please don't forget. And starting today is early voting. So you could also do that. And there's also absentee ballot available for people this year. And when it says reason, you can put down COVID-19 and that should go through. Here's a couple of my sources just to prove that I am not making this up. And with that, Musab, if there's any questions that you have, or folks have.
Yeah. Jazakallah khairan, Brother Harris. It was an amazing presentation. By the way, guys, Harris made this presentation himself. I remember he made it like in the beginning of the year, and he's given it in like so many places. And it's a really good presentation. He worked really hard on these graphics. So I want to really thank him for putting this together and coming on such short notice. So I wanted to go through, we had some questions in the chat. So Brother Mufti Luftur Rahman Qasimi was asking if there's any ranked choice voting for the DA's race.
Oh, that's a great question. And the answer is no. Let me just see if I have a slide that delved into it. But no, the answer is no, because ranked choice voting was, and I guess that's a great question because I can now add that slide for future presentations. But ranked choice voting was approved by New York City voters, I believe in 2018, through a ballot measure. And because of that, it only applied to city elections. And it was basically changing the city charter. And so what that means is New York City mayor, New York City controller, public advocate, borough presidents, city council, and that's it. And Manhattan DA or any DA office right now, this year, Manhattan DA is on the ballot. I don't believe any other DA offices are. But those offices are creatures of the state and state law. So they operate under a different system, which is, the usual, like you just pick one person and vote. So yeah, this is just for New York City offices, local offices, council, borough president, controller, public advocate, mayor. Those are the only offices.
Yeah, so everything from DA's office to all the state elections, that's DA, assembly, and state senate, governor races, and also lieutenant governor, of course. Plus, I think state comptroller is also elected. All of those half of those aren't on the ballot this year. But in any case, those are all subject to state rules, which means they are still plurality. They are not ranked choice voting, as well as federal seats. So you talk about Congress and all the way up to the presidential. Those are all still very much plurality, not ranked choice voting. If there are any other questions, feel free to put them in the chat. And I guess I just want to take this opportunity to talk a little bit about early voting. As of today, early voting has started in New York City, which means that people can actually cast their ballots now. Well, technically not now, because I think the polls already closed for today, but they can cast their ballots, starting tomorrow, and technically starting today as well, all the way up until June 20th. On June 21st, they take a recess to kind of just recalibrate, and then election day is June 22nd. So you have an entire week, a little bit more than a week actually, to get your ballot in at your nearest polling site. You can find your polling site actually on our great website, NYMVP. So Harris, I'm actually going to share my screen for a second. Give me 1 second. All right. And I'm going to share it right here. All right. So can everyone see my screen? I believe so. Okay, excellent. So this is our website, NYMVP, the New York Muslim Voter Project. And the New York Muslim Voter Project is a coalition of 8 501c3 organizations that, they came together to boost Muslim electoral organizing, and it's completely nonpartisan. It's non-political. These are 501c3 organizations. It's made up of 8 organizations, which they're all sponsors of this event today, as well as others. And pretty much this is a Muslim voter resource page. So here you can join the coalition, you can get in touch with us, or if you're just your average voter who's trying to figure out where their polling site is or whether they're registered to vote, they can do that through here by clicking resources. And here you can see if you're registered to vote. Here you can set up your election deadlines. Here you can join the team. And pretty much this will have everything that you need. And we're working on getting some infographics there as well. But it'll have everything that you need. And these are the sponsoring organizations, of course, of NYMVP. They're the coalition organizations. And pretty much it'll have everything that you need for to get your vote out this year, except of course voting. So that website, NYMVP, I'm going to put it in the chat, but it's nymvp.org. It's really simple. You can register to vote on there, although right now the registration deadline already passed. You can do pretty much anything that you need is on there, right? So NYMVP, I put it it's in the chat. And let me hand it back because we did get a question. So let me hand it back to Haris. Okay, so we got a question. How can you figure out the ranking choice number 3 could be the winner? So I think the question is saying, how can we figure out if the rank choice for the person who's ranked number 3, how can they be the winner?
So you mean if in the first round
yes.
Of election, somebody gets 40 votes, another person gets 30, and then another person gets 20, how could the person with 20 be the winner? That could be the case if after the 20 votes, there's like a bunch of other people who only got 2, 3, 4, 7, 8. And all of those people decided to transfer their votes to rank choice number 3. So you could have situations where a person that's lower down the ballot or lower receives less votes than another candidate, but he still or she still makes it through because all the other candidates that were negligible or did not make a huge difference in the eventual result of the election, but the people who voted for them still ranked. And that's why for smaller communities that are not completely decisive in like these elections, ranked choice is so important because your second choice, your third choice, your fourth choice later on can make a huge difference. A person could be, just 2-3 percentage points away from taking over the leader in the polls, and that's what happened in Oakland. Where it was a very small margin of victory, and so with the ranked choice, it's so important to not just vote now, but it's very important to also rank your ballot. And some people say, what if you're not motivated by any people? And you don't want to, you just want to vote for one person. That's if you just don't believe in any other candidate and you don't want to rank people, you could do that too. You could just vote for one person. The only issue with that is if that person does not make it or is not even close to making it, then in the older sense, people would use the word your votes were wasted. In ranked choice, it's never wasted because you have 5 tries. You have 5 bites at the apple. So you could do a person like Jill Stein. You could, if 2016 was happening right now in a New York City primary, you could do Jill Stein. So from the Green Party, then you could do the Independence Party, then you could do the Libertarian, then you could do the Democratic Party, and then you could rank the Republican Party 5th if this was like a election based on parties. And so even though Jill Stein wouldn't win, Libertarians wouldn't win, maybe the Democrats would win, and maybe you're a Democrat, maybe that's what you believe in. And the other way around too for Republicans. So ranked choice is really a great system for communities that, in the older system, politicians and government would ignore you because you wouldn't make the deciding factor. But now every vote is important. That's why people try to court and appeal to a broader cross-section of communities and would not have to just ignore people like they used to in the past.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. And we've seen this pretty much actually in all the elections. The front-running candidates were a lot more likely to appeal to larger sections and more diverse slates of communities, right? So, they would court actually actively the Muslim vote. Now it's because of things like ranked choice voting. And it's so important for our community to take advantage of ranked choice voting. So again, this is a 501c3 event, so none of us can tell you who to vote for and how to vote. But the recommendation is please rank your choices. It's super important. It's much better for our system. It's much better for our democracy. And you get to choose more than one person. So ultimately, you actually are never really upset about who you chose, because you can make sure that, okay, I'm ranking people like this is my most preferred candidate, but maybe this person, you know, he's okay. I like him 50%. I'll put him. Maybe her, I like her like, you know, 45%. I'll put her as third. You'll ultimately get someone who you are at the very least satisfied with, right? That you ranked. So it's super important to rank your votes, right? And if you just don't find anybody that appeals to you, I mean, hey, it is what it is. You just rank the one. But ranked choice voting is super important, and it's very good for our democracy. So I wanted to end it off here today. This webinar, like all of our webinars, is available on our Facebook at Shura New York and on our YouTube channel, which is also at Shura New York. So if you did miss this webinar, or you want to review it or show it to other people, you can find it on our Facebook. You can find it on our YouTube. I want to thank all the sponsors and all of the coalition members of NYMVP, New York Muslim Voter Project. If you want to learn more, visit our website, www.nymvp.org. And if you want to get in touch with us to see how you can help turn out Muslim voters, feel free to contact us through the website. And also feel free to contact Majlis Ash-Shura, the Islamic Leadership Council of New York. We'll have some stuff going on. And follow us, give us a like, share this video, show all your friends, show all your family. Let's get Muslims to come out and vote today. Voting is not the solution to all of our problems, but it's definitely a step, and it's definitely a piece of the puzzle. And Muslims should absolutely be voting this year, this primary election. It's super important. Friends, don't let friends not vote. And with that being said, thank you so much, Haris. Jazakallah khairan. Always a pleasure having you, brother. And I'm still pretty upset about that Faluda thing, man. I'm not going to let this go.
Baklava and kanafa.
You know what? Honestly, he put baklava and kanafa first, so I'll take that. I appreciate it. All right, guys.
Thank you.
That's a wrap for me. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum.